Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 282 of the MTGGoldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, starting with the owner of MTGGoldfish, Richard. How's it going today, Richard?
Hey, Seth. Doing well.
Yes, and of course, we have another co-host in Krim. Welcome, Krim. How are you this morning?
Morning, Seth. There's lots of sweet cards from Jumpstart, and just a lot of things overall. So, with so many new cards.
Yeah, it has been a couple, 2 or 3 weeks just overflowing with new cards. So today, our main topics, Jumpstart. We got the full spoiler of Jumpstart in the last week since our last cast. So we're going to talk about new Jumpstart cards. Also, some cards from Jumpstart that aren't coming to Arena, unlike the rest of the cards from the set. Also, some Arena news as far as where you're going to be able to play Arena, starting very quickly with Max support coming. Also, there were more Players Tours this weekend that we want to hit on. And then, of course, answer some fish mail as well at the end of the cast. So that is kind of our overview for today. But before we get into all those topics, a reminder that our show today is once again brought to you by Spikes Academy, the world's first MTG online academy. And they, of course, is created by the best players in the entire world, and they are designed to improve your game. So whether you're trying to reach Mythic every season on Magic Arena, or you just want to beat your friends every draft, their courses will help you improve your game, and you can join today over at spikesacademy.com. So thank you so much to Spikes Academy for supporting the show. And let's talk some Magic. So let's start with Jumpstart. We got the full Jumpstart spoiler, and we got some cards we want to talk to, but what do you guys think about this set? I didn't really know what to expect heading into Jumpstart spoiler season. It was like these weird theme packs. It seemed really different. What do you think? Did the set in general meet your expectations, exceed your expectations? Where are you at as far as Jumpstart's concerned?
This has definitely exceeded my expectations. I thought this was just gonna, first off, I was a little confused on what it was. When I first heard about it, I also thought it was just a random set just meant for drafting, right? And that was it, right? So because of that, I thought maybe it'd be kind of weaker cards, but turns out there's a lot here, and a lot of it will be coming to Historic, so I'm really excited. And there's even crazy reprints for Commander.
Yeah, I think thumbs up all around. I think, isn't this weird? We do a podcast, we make Magic content 24/7. We don't know what the heck the set is, right? We think it's some casual supplement for a game board night. Yeah, right? Turns out, right, they have a bunch of new cards that are super focused on Commander, I would say. All of the new cards look like they're made for Commander. They have a ton of high value, long, sorely needed reprints. And I think the best news is these cards, barring 20 asterisks, are coming to Historic, which if you had questions of whether Historic was its own thing or if it was mini Pioneer or whatever, I think that's erased now, with all the Historic anthologies, with Jumpstart coming in. We're getting a real metagame, a real card pool, right? So I think Historic's about to come really interesting. So we'll see how it goes. The only weird thing is there's a handful of cards in the set that will not be available on Arena and will be replaced by something else, which really awkward and caused massive confusion during preview season as we're Path to Exile in Historic. Wait, no, it's not. Lightning Bolt. Wait a minute. This is weird.
Randomly,
we get into those cards.
yeah, there's randomly just some things on that list that I don't understand why they're not there. Thought Scour. I don't know why that's not just something that you can get into Arena.
The Delve deck was too strong.
Okay.
Yeah, the communication on that was definitely very confusing, because if you read the original announcement of Jumpstart, if you just read it casually, it definitely sounds like, hey, Jumpstart is all going to be on Arena and legal and historic. But if you go back and like reread it very carefully, the way it's worded is like all the Jumpstart cards on Arena will be legal and historic or something, where technically, like, if it's not on Arena, then obviously it won't be legal. So there's like a little loophole there. So I wish the communication was a little clearer, because going into spoiler season, everyone assumed all the cards were legal and historic. And then it started coming out like, oh, in Arena arena dev on some obscure Discord said that some cards won't be on there, and everyone was like, oh my god, like, what are they talking about? What is this? So eventually Wizards did, to their credit, post a list and actually clarify that, but I'm really hyped for this set too. I'm primarily hyped for it because it is going to be huge for Historic. I've done a huge 180 on Historic over the last 6 months where it didn't interest me when it launched, and its launch was pretty clunky on top of just being a really small card pool. But this is a ton of new cards that are really going to shake up that format, and there's a ton of Commander stuff, and as Richard mentioned, it's like Oracle of Moldias and Exquisite Bloods, cards that people have been begging for reprints of for literally years are finally getting reprinted in the set that I, like Krim, assumed was kind of just this throwaway casual product, like a Planeswalker decks or something, where it's just oh, okay, this will be some nice, cute little cards that, maybe someone will buy at their Walmart when they're going through the checkout line or something. But it was definitely way more than that. So let's talk about some of the actual cards that are coming, I guess, to Commander for the most part, but also to Historic from Jumpstart. Richard, why don't you guide us through some spoiler cards?
All right, I'm going to start off with the card that has the most potential of me playing it on Commander Clash. Tiny Bones, Trinket Thief, 1 in a black, a 1/2, legendary creature, Skeleton Rogue. Yes, we have a legendary skeleton. At the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and you lose a life. 4 black, black. Each opponent with no cards in hand loses 10 life.
You failed to mention that the artwork is also insanely adorable. Richard.
Adorable.
Is it adorable or creepy?
It's a dead child, my friend.
Okay. Yes. If we look, we dig a little deeper, okay, that's a little creepy, but it's I don't know. When I saw that card, I think I want to make a deck around it solely just based on the artwork. It's pretty cute if you ignore it's like how Pokemon has really dark lore for some of their Pokemon cards. Like I don't know, Litwick its candle is lit by the souls of humans or something like that. So but the candle itself looks adorable, right? So much like that, Tiny Bones is adorable and just has a really dark backstory. I don't know if it's it doesn't look like a commander that'll be insanely broken, but it looks like one that's gonna be pretty fun, right? Building a rack deck around it, and I think is where I'm gonna start, and I'm sure everyone will too. But that card just looks sweet and a lot of fun to play with.
I definitely missed when I first read the card that it triggers on each end step. So it's actually relatively easy with a bottomless pit or other cards that make your opponents discard on their upkeep to just have this be draw 4 cards every turn cycle or 3 cards every turn cycle, which is actually pretty powerful on a 2-mana commander. So once I realized that you can draw multiple cards every time around the table, I got a little bit more excited for it. I think it's definitely going to be a really popular card because people like discard. It is cute, I guess, kind of, and that doesn't even consider the Richard implications of, I assume this is just your new go-to skeletal tribal commander, Richard?
Oh, but it's a 2-mana 1/2 that does absolutely nothing. It goes great so in a waste knot deck. But as a lord, I don't know.
Isn't being 2 mana and 1 power and doing absolutely nothing perfectly on flavor for skeleton tribal? Isn't that every skeleton in Magic's history?
It needs to regenerate or come back from the graveyard.
It's actually above
getting Path to Exiled.
But it's above the rate of a normal skeleton. It's a 1/2, not a 1/1, right? It's not a 3-mana 1/1.
It can take out your Giant Armor, no problems.
Yeah. Let's see Llanowar Elves block this, all right? You know what I mean? This is way better than the run-of-the-mill skeleton.
So, speaking of elves, we have Allosaur's Shepherd. A single green mana, so 1 CMC, 1/1, creature, elf shaman. Allosaur's Shepherd can't be countered. Green spells you control can't be countered. 4 green, until end of turn, each elf creature you control has base power and toughness 5/5 and becomes a dinosaur in addition to its other creature types.
This card's absurd. I think this might be the best legacy card from the entire set. Not only making your green creatures uncounterable, but all green spells means that you can like natural order and know that it's not going to get forced to will and get your Craterhoof and win the game. I feel like this is just like a staple in Elves decks, especially in Legacy, but I think it'll show up in Elves decks in Historic too. And one of the cool things about this set in general is, yeah, we're talking about Allosaurus Shepherd, which is a powerful elf, but there's also like Elvish Archdruid, Dwinian's Elite. There's a bunch of like modern/legacy playable elves that are coming to Historic for the first time. So maybe Elf Tribal will actually be a thing on Arena because of this card and some other reprints that are new to the format.
Speaking of Craterhoof Behemoth being reprinted.
Yeah, that is a frightening card. It's so funny to see people playing Enraze Forerunners.
Yeah.
And I assume they're like, they don't realize the power of Craterhoof Behemoth. If you're a new player and you've been like, oh, Enraze Forerunner, give yourself +2/+2 and trample. That's cute. Wait until you resolve a Craterhoof Behemoth and it's just always lethal. You have a few creatures, they're all like 10/10 tramples and you just win the game like every single time. So I'm definitely excited for a new generation of players to learn the power of Craterhoof Behemoth.
Yeah, I don't think I've, like, every time I've casted Craterhoof, I don't even think I've ever had to really, like, count to make sure it's lethal. Like, it's like, yeah, okay, they're dead. We're just gonna attack. But yeah, like that, like there's that whole Elves pack is kind of insane, right? Like, I mean, I think it's really cool. So another thing that is interesting with Jumpstart, and I think is great for budget, especially when it comes to Commander, are cards like Thriving Isle, which are these new enter the battlefield tapped lands, where when they enter the battlefield, choose a color, like, other than blue, then it adds a blue and then the mana of the chosen color, right? Or the mana of the chosen color. So it's kind of like it's just another tapped dual land, which is cool. It doesn't have the types attached to it, though.
Yeah, I think I really like the Thriving Lands for, like, budget Commander players, although fingers crossed they're actually cheap enough to be budget. I know, like, the prices right now look like they're several dollars a piece, which is a little bit rough. But I think if you're building like budget Commander decks that are 3 or more colors, this is definitely an upgrade on like the Game Lands or the Guild Gates. I think it's the best like enter the battlefield tapped, like lower rarity budget cycle that we've seen so far, because you get to choose based on the cards in your hand or like what you need at that time rather than being locked into 2 colors. So I think that hopefully these are a big deal for budget Commander players at least.
Do you think these are good for non-budget?
No.
No.
They come into play tap, so I think that just kills it. Like, if you're playing non-budget, you're like, you really don't want your lands to come into play tapped, and if it does come into play tapped, it needs to do something pretty spectacular. So I guess if you're playing like the gain 1 life lands or Guild Gates, but then you're probably playing a budget deck anyway. So yeah, I think they're just not good unless you're building on a budget.
Okay, hold on. Are there non-budget decks that run Vivid Lands? Or like Tri-Lands? Like, I could see you running this as like kind of, well, I think they replaced Vivid Lands, but like I think maybe like Tri-Lands 5-6 or something, possibly. But I think in general, like the bulk of your mana base will not be these cards if you're non-budget. But it could be something.
I don't know if like these like the Tri-Lands at least have the type, right, attached to it, so you can kind of like bring it out with a fetch land or something like that, and they cycle.
Well, the old Tri-Lands.
Oh, right. Those
like
ones,
if you're playing a 5-color deck and you somehow want no, you would never play these. Because you could just fetch into any shock or whatever, and it would get the right thing.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting archetype for lands. Like, I think it'll be interesting to see if we see more powered up versions of these in the future. Like, imagine this, except it comes into play untapped, and maybe it has the land types on them. That would be a staple cycle of lands. Like, that would be in the fetch land
So
area
super
of
duels.
power level. Like, well, I mean, I think like this formatting, maybe if you don't have the land types, but even if it just came into play untapped and you got to choose, I think that would be a very playable cycle of lands.
that would be
I think this is the
insanely
future.
playable. That would,
This is like Evolving Wilds that doesn't like cause a shuffle, right? Like, so yeah, some decks want the landfall effect, some decks want the shuffle effect. Other players just don't want to shuffle their 100 card double triple sleeved commander deck.
I do not.
So I feel this is a thing. And I figured out, okay, you're running a Leonin Arbiter deck. So you play Thriving Heath because you can't fetch.
Okay.
I figured it out. That's my tier 1 usage for this.
Wait, hold on. Does that mean like it doesn't add the color if like there's like a blood sun? Like, cause
Ooh.
I don't even. Oh, who knows?
Does it say as it enters the battlefield?
As Thriving More enters the battlefield.
Okay, so I think you would still choose because it's not a triggered ability, yeah.
Okay, cool. But yeah, like, so I just think those are cool lands, and like, at least for like the budget scene, when it comes to like Commander. And like, there's just like, there's a Linvala reprint also. So I'm really excited to see that. Like, just like, Jumpstart is like, surprisingly just really just blown me away. I'm like a huge fan of this set so far.
All right. Hold on. What do you think about a card that doubles your mill? Bruvac, the Grandiloquent.
Yeah.
Is that a real word, guys?
I have never seen it before, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
I'm a grandiloquent.
I think you're asking the two wrong people.
Is it not just grandiloquent?
No, is it? No, it's an ILO in there. I was like, that sounds like a real word. Is Seth actually right? Like, no. Legendary creature, human advisor, 1/4. If an opponent would mill one or more cards, they mill twice that many cards instead.
Yes. This card is sweet. Oh, yeah. This is such a fun card. Like, hold on. Does this work with Traumatize?
It does. It does work with Traumatize. Either maybe mill the entire library or at least put someone down to one card. Also, Fleet Swallower does the same thing. So there's some combo potential there.
Fleet Swallower's got to attack. And it's 7 mana.
True.
You're asking for a lot there.
I actually think I think Tiny Bones will be the most popular commander probably from the set. People just really seem to love baby skeletons for some reason. But Burvac, I think it might be the second most playable. Casual players love mill. I am always like shocked at how popular any random mill deck I play is because people just really love mill. And I think this is the best like traditional mill commander. You have like Phoenix style decks where you can play like high toughness wall mill. You have like Una or Ambassador Liquatus, which are legends that can mill. But if you just want to like cast mill spells, there's not a better commander in existence than Burvac. So I expect a lot of people to try to build around this in Commander.
Like, I mean, we're talking like if you like Burvac at least can go in the 99 also of like a Dimir Mill deck because just going and cast. I don't know if you're supposed to be casting Tome Scour in Commander, but like that is 10 cards. All right, but and like what is it? The blue black mill spell. Glimpse the Unthinkable, like that's 20 cards. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, if you point them all at the same person. I mean, mill is tough in Commander because you got 3 opponents with 100 card decks. That is a lot of cards to mill, but Burvac really does help. And I think that's a really good point about the 99 because one of the best mill cards printed in recent years was Fraying Sanity, which is actually really similar. It triggers slightly differently. Any card going in the graveyard triggers it rather than just mill, but essentially it's another card that doubles up your mill. So I think easy 99 play. And it does work well with like Phoenix. It's got 4 toughness. It's an advisor. So I expect some people to build like persistent petitioner meme deck and just play like 50 petitioners in this and try to like tap them all and build people out that way. So
I mean, this and like Psychic Corrosion makes it so like everybody's milling 4 anytime you draw. So
yeah,
this is just a fun card. This is a very fun card. And I mean, as you had mentioned earlier, though, outside of like if you want to mill, it feels like in Commander right now, if you want to mill, it's mostly self mill, and that's the way to go. But like if you want to mill the whole table, like go ahead. But Burvac is definitely a great heading in a great direction if you're trying to mill in a multiplayer kind of game.
Yeah, I don't know why they added the opponent clause. Would this be too strong if you could double your self mill?
Probably not.
Like I feel like that would enable a lot more things to do with this card.
Oh yeah. I think if you could self mill yourself, if you're able to like get double on the self mill, that's insane, right? I mean,
I think that would read like a drawback to new players who this is targeted at.
Oh, I guess I didn't really Think about
I think even though we play and we know the value of self-milling, I think this is targeted at like new casual players who want to like tome scour their opponent. And I think if you read it and you're like, I don't know, I don't want to mill myself. That's how I'm trying to kill my opponent. Why would I want to like mill myself? So maybe that's part of it, because I don't think it would be too powerful if it said that.
Like, thought scour into treasure cruise. Like, this is what I want to do with this card. Am I playing this right? Oh god.
Like, that would be really good though. I think I don't know. I don't think it'd be broken because, you know, self mill is like, I don't think a broken archetype or actually, no, I mean, Seth, don't you dislike the Thassa's Oracle way of winning? Like
I do kind of, I kind of dislike Thassa's Oracle in specific. I used to like it. I feel like Thassa's Oracle is like a little too good for that style of winning, and that like Lab Maniac was more like the right power level for that style of winning. But yeah.
Yeah, if you dislike that, then I think this would be like really expediting that process of getting to Thassa's Oracle or Lab Man or something like that.
All right. Next up, we have Emil the Blessed. 2 white, 4/4 legendary creature unicorn. 3 generic. Exile another target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. When another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay hybrid green white. So that's like one CMC. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on it. If it's a unicorn, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it instead. Have I played Unicorn Tribal?
I don't think so, but you will now. There are unicorns through Magic's history. They make skeletons look powerful, so I will warn you heading into it that it's gonna be a rough week. I actually think this is one of the best commander cards in the whole set, though. I think Unicorn Tribal, obviously that could be a richer thing, but I think this is like the white, like, Deadeye Navigator. Like, 3 mana to repeatedly blink something. We see Deadeye Navigator really powerful. It doesn't protect itself, but it's only 4 mana instead of 6 mana. Great in like Panharmonicon decks. There's combos, like, kind of like janky combos with like Workhorse is one, this creature that enters with 4 +1/+1 counters you can remove to add mana. So if you get like an Anthem on the battlefield, you make infinite mana. You can like Panharmonicon Brood Monitor for infinite blinking, infinite tokens, infinite mana. So I actually think that while Unicorn Tribal is not anything more than like a jank meme deck at this point, I think this is actually like a super legit card to play in the 99 of commander decks.
Yeah. I mean, I really like that it's not like a tap, you know what I mean? Or anything like that to activate its ability. It's just 3 mana to exile another target creature you control. So, and then return to the battlefield. So I think that's pretty sweet. I mean, I also don't see why not play all of it together. Right? Like, you just have now like another blink effect. So just throw another one into the deck and now you can really have multiple combo pieces.
So the average unicorn power and toughness seems to be about 2/2s. So this effectively makes them 4/4s if you cast them and pay the tax. That's a legit tribe. And we also have Mutate. Apparently Majestic Auricorn is a unicorn. I didn't know that. So you can mutate a big pile and blink it to confuse all your opponents.
I mean, like, this is like the most fair table of commander I've ever heard of, right? Like Unicorn Tribal, Skeleton Tribal.
And we haven't even got to Minotaurs yet.
Yeah. Just imagine that, like, so I was playing against my friend and they just had the most annoying unicorn deck. And like, imagine complaining about that.
All right, let's talk about Minotaurs. Sethron, it's Seth basically, guys. Hurlon General, 3 red, 4/4 legendary creature Minotaur Warrior. When Sethron or another non-token Minotaur enters the battlefield under your control, create a 2/3 red Minotaur creature token. 2 and hybrid Rakdos, so 3 to activate Minotaurs you control, get +1/+0 and gain menace and haste until end of turn.
Now, with its, first off, like with its color identity, it's a Rakdos commander.
It's a Rakdos card.
Yeah. I remember like I played Minotaur Tribal a while back, and I think that this card is sweet because it's like, it also comes with that, cause there's that Lord for Minotaurs that like gives them +2 in haste. Now you can kind of just get haste and menace for the cost of like 3 mana, and it does even more. And it like, so if you're in the market for a Minotaur, I think this is a really sweet Minotaur like inclusion. And then it's like second off, I mean, like, is this now 2 cards with your name in it, Seth?
there is Dracu Seth and now Seth Rod, so pretty soon I'm going to be able to build a mono red Seth tribal. That'll be a good against odds deck.
Are you probably better known as the Hurloon General or the Mob Flames? Like,
I think I associate more with the Minotaur really rather than Dracu Seth. I think this is the best Minotaur commander though. Really, like, Minotaurs are a bad tribe. Like, they're not really debating. They don't have that much support. They're a fun tribe. I'm not trying to discredit Minotaurs, but they've never had a good like tribal commander. The one that kinda cares is Neheb the Unworthy, but that's really like the discard one where you need to be like heck bent for it to do anything. I feel like if you want to take the Minotaur challenge, this is like your commander almost 100% of the time. And I also think it's cute that it makes, what is it? Hurloon Minotaur? Was that the original, like, Alpha Minotaur, the first Minotaur, which was like a 3-mana 2/3? So it essentially makes Hurloon Minotaur. So a nice little, like, flashback to the early days of Magic there as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, actually, I kind of want to see that now. I kind of want to see a table of Minotaurs versus unicorns.
Skeletons and then devils. We got a devil legend
devils.
now. So.
No.
Minotaurs will win hands down.
No, you gotta get a
crazy.
blue.
It's 5 mana. It's a 6/7, right? Because it's a 4/4 plus a 2/3, and then every like crap Minotaur you cast gets an additional 2/3 attached to it.
You mean
and then
crap
you can just pay 3 to like swing in and like kill someone with haste and menace, right? So I actually think this is really good. Like, imagine like late game when everyone thinks you're useless because you're the Minotaur deck and you're sitting there with like 12 mana. You play this thing that's 6 power, right? And then you play another Minotaur, call that 10 power. You pump an attack with the team, right? You can just take someone out. So I actually think this like token generating Lord effect is actually pretty good because you probably have all the other pump effects because you're a tribal deck. So I think making additional tokens is probably one of the strongest things you could be doing.
I mean, so what you're saying here is we need to have this versus dogs versus.
I'm sorry, I don't know that dogs stand a chance against
Dogs can maybe
the
if
might
you have
of the Hurlon Minotaurs.
I mean, Orzhov dogs versus like Rakdos Minotaurs and that sounds and Celestia unicorns. This sounds insanely sweet.
Coming soon on Commander Clash.
Time for Tybalt to shine, right? Zerzoth, Chaos Rider, 2 red, 2/3, legendary creature Devil. Whenever an opponent draws their first card each turn, if it's not their turn, you create a 1/1 red Devil creature token with when this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. Whenever one or more devils you control attacks one or more players, you and those players each draw a card, then discard a card at random.
What is it riding? What is it? What is that like a demonic goat or something?
It's a goat. It's a demonic goat.
I mean, this has to be the worst tribe of the bunch, right? We've been talking about a lot of bad tribes. Is devils worse than skeletons and unicorns? Like, is this the literal bottom of the barrel really for commander tribes?
No, you're backed by like Tybalt. New Tybalt, not the
basically
old
all
one.
your creatures have a blood artist attached to them. So when they die, you get to ping something, right?
You're really good at beating skeletons.
Skeletons.
Yeah, skeletons.
You can ping down the 1/1s.
Yeah, you're
Unless
dunking
they
on
leave up
You have
skeletons.
to hold up 2 mana to regenerate.
Oh yeah, if they regenerate, regenerate just seems like a broken mechanic against devils. Like
It does have the callback to Tybalt's random looting ability too, which is kind of funny. Where if you attack, you gotta draw, but then you gotta discard at random, which makes it so much worse for no reason. So this card's
But
bad.
this time
right?
you
It's
force
just
it on
bad.
your opponent too, right?
Yeah,
it's not you only do it. Your opponent gets to do it. Everyone gets to faithlessly loot, right? Or not? Desperate Ravings. Desperate Ravings.
I do like Barrage of Expendables though. That comes in the same pack. I think that really that helps the Devils. Like, you know what I mean? The Devils. Because that card is sweet and the artwork is adorable.
They are good for the devils are good for sacking for damage. That is a good point.
Yeah, like so you can. I think devils of the tribes, like there's a lot worse, I guess.
Name one.
Skeletons. Like I can only name one.
I actually would have preferred if the pinging was random.
No, then they're actually unplayable, right? Imagine
they like just ping off each other and they all die. Then they ping you in the face. You're like, what happened, guys?
Imagine that in a game of multiplayer
thing,
where you have to randomly ping somebody. How are you going to sort that out? All right, 1 through 6 on this is you, 1 through 6 on that is you.
Yep. Roll your 30-sided die for all targets. Okay. All right, last of the tribal representatives. We have Aeneas the Gale Force, 3 blue, 4/4, legendary creature, Djinn flying, 2 Azorius, so 3 CMC, attacking creatures with flying, get +1/+1 until end of turn. Whenever 3 or more creatures you control with flying attack, each player gains control of a non-land permanent of your choice, controlled by the player to their right. Period. So forever.
Oh.
I mean, I think this card's, it's cool. I like the political aspect. I mean, you can play it as just like an Azorius Fire commander, which is fine. I think that some sort of conjured currency, almost Azorius Chaos deck just built around swapping permanents and hopefully using the politics to your advantage, or maybe winning with your opponent's permanents. I think that could be a really cool style, but I don't know. Are you really going to play Djinn Tribal with this?
Yes.
Are Djinns playable? If you play a tribal,
you would play token flyers so that you give your opponents your crappy tokens.
Yeah.
And then because you get to choose all of this, right? So you get to basically kingmate and manipulate the board however you so choose fit. So I feel like this is actually a really interesting card that will lead to pretty interesting games because you get to choose all of this.
I mean, I wish you could choose left or right.
Oh, but then it would overpowered. We can't go that far. Too many choices.
You do whatever you want on that board. I don't know about this.
That would be sweet, right? Because then everybody to the left swaps or right, and then you just make the game purely madness. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
I think it's a really cool card. I don't know if it's super competitive, but I think it is cool how you get to control it for sure.
Yeah. I think that's pretty sweet. The card though overall just seems okay.
Shockingly available on Arena and Historic. Yeah. I'm of mechanics they couldn't implement. This was not one of them. No, but
I mean, I'm thinking about this in 1-on-1. If you get I don't know when you're getting to 5 mana. I think you're flooded if you're on blue-white flyers and you're hitting 5 mana. But yeah, I guess you could try to steal stuff. It's kind of a balanced Agent of Treachery, right?
Yeah, it's Agent of Treachery where you need to attack.
Yeah.
Speaking of Historic on Arena, what do you guys make of the list of cards that are not coming to Arena into Historic? So there's 500 cards. All the cards we just talked about are going to be on Arena. Almost all the cards from the set, the reprints, there's a ton of them. It's really going to shake up Historic. Those will be on Arena, but there's a list of 20 cards that will not be on Arena. Which of these do you think are obvious? Oh my god, good thing they aren't on Arena in Historic. That would be a bad thing. And which of them are you a little bit puzzled by why they didn't make it to Arena?
I'm going to be honest with you. I think literally all of these could have been on Arena except for what is maybe not. I don't know about Chain Lightning. But I think even Lightning Bolt was fine because this is how bad it is for me. I just don't like losing to Nexus. So if I have to, I want to know that I can farm Nexus decks by switching to a more aggressive deck, right? I guess Rhystic Study is one that would be a little annoying because then you'd have to that would prompt a trigger every time anybody casts a spell, or your opponents cast a spell, and maybe that's just for simplicity. Maybe that one shouldn't be on there, but I think everything else is fine. That'd be cool to have Exhume and Reanimate. Because it's not like we have Entomb, right? So we have the 5-mana creature Entomb, but that's way different. We don't have Buried Alive. So I think, yeah, you'd go Thought Scour and all of that, but like, I mean, you know, like I don't think there's a lot of crazy, because I think we talked about this a while back, Seth, that there's not a ton of efficient self-mill.
That's true. There's no Faithless Suiting. There is like Haggle or whatever the Merchant of the Veil, the adventure half is. So there are like ways to do it, but there's not a ton of like really guaranteed easy ways to fill your graveyard on turn 1. Although I will say,
what you choose to draw. You choose to draw. Skip a land, discard.
So we're gonna
play a land, reanimate.
We're gonna go like Manaless Dredge Legacy style. Like always choose to draw first. Okay.
I should have this choice, right? Like, why not?
I don't.
I agree with Krim. All of these should be on, and if something is really broken, like nothing immediately jumps out and says broken to me, they should just ban it. I think having Lightning Bolt and Path would make it pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then if like for some reason there is some reanimator deck or something that's too good, then just ban a card as opposed to preemptively keeping these out of the format. But I don't see anything broken here. I would like to see Path to Exile in the format.
I'm personally a little skeptical of like the 1-mana cards, like Reanimate, Bolt, Chain Lightning. Path to Exile maybe would be fine. I think like Mono Red would be insane if you had Lightning Bolt and Chain Lightning and everything it currently has. Like,
yeah.
But maybe you just like, I don't know.
Historic Anthologies to fix everything, right? Like, like you could add Historic Anthologies 4, add like the 2-mana. What is that thing? The protection from red, gain a life, and never
Core Firewalker.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then be done with red decks if you felt that was too much, right? Like,
I mean, anything that beats Nexus decks. I don't, if a Nexus player is upset that Lightning Bolt is too strong and they didn't get to play Magic, you know what I mean? Like, oh.
I think some of the other cards are clearly not power level based, and they're more either they would be hard to program on Arena or they would potentially be obnoxious, like Krim mentioned with Rhystic Study just like constantly triggering and kind of being annoying on Arena, because I can't imagine like scrounging Bandar which was just in like Kaladesh not that long ago and didn't do anything in Standard, is like power level concern. So it's kind of an interesting mix. The other thing is they said that these cards will be replaced on Arena. So we don't actually know yet what they'll be replaced with, but maybe there'll be some more historic goodies that fill these slots when they actually announce what's in those slots in the set.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. What cards will be taking place of these cards. I mean, does that mean that we get like what, like Fatal Push or something like that? Maybe like some Ether Revolt cards? I don't know.
I'm pretty,
like, you know,
I'm
I guarantee you, Wizards gave a list to the Arena team of a set, and then at the last minute, they wanted to change the paper printing, so they swapped out 20 cards, and then they never told the Arena team, so the Arena team implemented the original the original full list, because, like, how do you explain Ball Lightning? Like, it is a normal Magic card. There's nothing fancy about it. It is not broken power level wise, but it's for some reason not coming to Arena. Yeah. So I feel like they just like gave the Arena team a list or something, and it was modified later. Arena team didn't get the memo, so they got their own list, and then we have our own list for paper. It's weird. Like, some of these cards make zero sense. Like Time to Feed. Like, really? Like, I don't understand why this couldn't be implemented.
I mean, Johnny's Chosen isn't one that I'm like, oh darn, that better go, or else Historic gets broken in half.
I think it's like further confusing to me because it feels like if things were planned out better, most of these cards you could have just replaced in Jumpstart altogether. Like, there's a million fight spells. Why do you have to have Time to Feed in specific in Jumpstart when you could replace it with Prey Upon or any other? Like, if this was going to be a problem and going to make you have two different set lists based on Arena and paper, like, I guess Reanimate adds some value to the set. Rhystic Study is kind of an exciting reprint. But most of these cards, if you just replace them with something else, no one would know the difference or would have complained. So it feels like there had to be some miscommunication going on to just, like, end up where we are now with this list of 20 cards.
Mausoleum Turnkey. Like, what are these cards? Like, this is a weird list.
Yeah.
I think that one, I don't know if Arena has does Arena have the ability to let you choose cards from your opponent's graveyard or your opponent choose cards from your graveyard?
There has to, there is.
I mean, or I choose from your opponent's graveyard. Yeah, right? I mean...
Yeah, like there's a bunch of graveyard hate which you can target, right? From either graveyard.
Yup.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. What about Flame Tongue
Someone
Kavu?
on Arena team just really disliked some of these cards. Like, no, I lost to Mausoleum Turnkey at the finals of a Grand Prix. It is not going on, my clients.
Flame Tongue Kavu, I think, though, was an all-star, like, when it was, like, in Plane Shift Standard or whatever, but, like, I don't think it does the same thing nowadays. Because, like, Chupacabra is just better, right?
Yeah, I mean, it is basically better. It's a different color, but yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is mostly just better. So I can't imagine that it's too good. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of the list. But even with these cards not showing up, I think Jumpstart's going to be huge. I think it's like what Modern Horizons was for Modern. Which I think was...
So you're going to ruin my format?
I think it was a positive. I need to say that because that's what everyone says. But I think it's going to be like that for Historic, where we're just going to get a ton of new decks, a ton of exciting stuff going on. So I'm super hyped for Historic over the summer.
Yeah.
I'm
Young
just
Pyromancer getting into Historic is definitely getting me excited, too.
Oh, but Lightning Bolts. Chain Lightning. Can you imagine that deck? Oh.
No, I don't want to, actually.
So
I don't think Chain Lightning should be in the format, but Bolt, sure, maybe.
So we got a couple other topics we should hit on quick here before we get to fish mail. So let's move on. Any other Jumpstart thoughts before we hit up our other topics?
There was only one more thing I wanted to talk to everyone about, and it's Muxus, the gigantic goblin.
Muxus is sweet.
Yeah, is that card not sweet for, like, Commander?
So 6 mana, 4/4, red. When it enters the battlefield, reveals the top 6 cards of your library. Put all goblin creatures with converted mana cost 5 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. When Muxus attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other goblin you control.
It's like a super ringleader, right?
Oh no, you ringleader into Muxus.
Oh yeah, even better.
For the value, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just an auto include in any goblin deck in Commander. Like, it seems like it's just insane. I think it's even a good commander for a goblin deck. I don't think it's quite as good as, like, whatever the Krenko is that makes all the tokens and kills you immediately with hasty goblins.
Mob Boss?
Yes, that one. I don't think it's quite as competitive as that, but I think it might be, like, close to next in line for being one of the better, like, goblin generals you could play in Commander, and I think you just play it in the 99 like 100% of the time.
Yeah, definitely in the 99.
I actually don't even think it's impossible that it sees playing Historic, because we do have Matron. And Goblins also got, we were talking last cast, I think, Krim, or maybe it was off cast, where you were saying, like, we really need Goblin Chieftain. Like, that would be a huge deal. Well, we got Goblin Chieftain in the set as well. But I could imagine this being, like, a one-of Matron target in, like, Historic Goblins. Even though 6 mana is a lot, but you just, like, let it float in your deck and hope that you don't draw it until you get to 6 mana, and then you can Matron it up. And then if you resolve it, it's going to be absurd. You're getting so much value out of it.
I mean, you still have Skirk Prospector, right?
Yeah,
so,
Wily Goblin does a little rampant.
Yeah. Like that was pretty much what I felt like Goblins really needed in Historic, and it's Goblin Chieftain. And now that's hitting Historic. So this kind of seems insane, right? Like, Goblins might actually be, like, really, really, really good. I mean, I cannot wait to see how Goblins play out.
Yeah, me either. I've always liked the Goblin tribe, so I am hyped to actually give them a shot. It's been a good couple weeks for Goblins in general, because they also got a Conspicuous Snoop and M21, which is, like, hyping people for Goblins in Modern and Legacy and whatnot because of its combo. So it's been a good week for Goblins all around, I think.
Yeah, still waiting for fairies, but yeah.
Anyway, let's move on and hit up a couple other topics, with one of them being just announced today. Arena finally is coming to Mac. Actually, I think this week, and it's coming through the Epic Games Store. So, how big of a deal is this? Is this, earth-shattering, ground-shaking improvement, incremental improvement? What do you think about Arena coming to Mac?
Finally?
Yes, if you own a Mac. No, if you don't.
Yeah.
I think that's basically it, right? Like, if you are a person with a Mac that wanted to play Arena, you would have to use a third-party service, or you would boot camp or something to make that happen, or you would just keep playing paper Magic. But now you can play, so I think it's good. I think it's more promising in that they're actually doing it, because they've been promising Mac and mobile for like ever. Like basically before the game was even announced, they're like, oh, it's on Unity. We're going to be able to put it on all platforms. But it's taken them forever. They haven't done anything, but now they got it on Mac. So hopefully mobile next. And I think mobile will be the big game changer.
I don't know. I still am so skeptical about that. Like, yeah, like let's say like this Mac announcement. I feel like this Mac announcement was like, you know, it should have happened a long time ago, right? But like when they move it to mobile, that's where I'm gonna be like, okay, what? Like, I don't know how Magic is gonna take to mobile, but we'll see.
I don't know either, but they keep saying this year, so maybe we don't have that long to wait to see how Arena plays on mobile. I am a little skeptical, just like those big board states where you have like a million lines going everywhere. Like, I can hardly navigate that on PC. I can't imagine navigating that on my iPhone, but maybe they have some cunning way to avoid that problem, or zoom in, or maybe they update the whole system to something that is smoother. So I don't know. They keep saying it's going to happen though. So apparently we're going to find out this year.
I guess so. I mean, bless the tokens player. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm more worried about just attacking with two creatures. Like my computer can barely handle. Like my computer is like a jet engine with Arena playing. I don't know how your phone is going to handle Arena. So hopefully, even with like playing Sparky with like a single goblin on the battlefield, your phone doesn't just melt in your hands.
I'm imagining that right now too, where like there's like a memory leak on your phone.
Oh boy. I mean, have you ever forgotten Arena overnight? I come into my office in the morning, it's like 5 degrees hotter because for some reason like my 1080 Ti is like pegged, like playing Arena. I'm like, what is going on?
Same. I definitely have noticed that like my case it can get a little hot.
Before we get to fish mail, the other thing I wanted to mention is we had our second round of Players Tours event. So we talked about PT Arena 1 and 2 last weekend. This weekend we had PT Arena 3 and 4. Just a quick overview is there was less Teamer Rec. It was still like 25-ish% of the meta, but Bant Ramp actually made its presence felt and actually was ahead of Teamer Rec, at least for PT3 I saw the data for. So that is, I guess, encouraging, although overall there were still 6 Teamer Rec decks across the 2 top 8s, so it was still the best deck, the most played deck at those formats in the end. We also got to see a kind of a cool white-black Yarion discard deck that made the top 8 in the hands of Ben Stark, which was pretty sweet. So we did see some spice. I tweeted about the event and was like, hey, it looks more diverse, maybe Standard's getting better, and LSV responded and was like, I don't know if I'd say that. It might just be that, you know, not everyone enjoys the best deck, so they made a choice to play decks other than the best decks, even though Teamer Rec is still the best deck. So I don't know if Standard's better or if people chose to play decks that they enjoyed rather than playing Teamer Rec. But by the numbers, the meta was at least slightly more diverse than last weekend.
It was definitely more diverse, but yeah, like I feel like I kind of get what LSV is saying here, because it feels like people were just like, you know what? I'm going to play something that is more fun, right? Like, I mean, like the Orzhov deck running around, like, I think that's definitely a fun deck. I don't know if it's the truth. I mean, it might body me, but like the thing here is like decks like Teamer Rec and like anything in green or playing Growth Spiral. Is mono discard good enough? I mean, like, I feel like this discussion, like how we had talked about it before, right? Like Richard said Thoughtseize isn't even that good anymore in like older formats. Are 1-for-1 things like that, like Thoughtseize, Thought Erasure, are, you know what I mean? Like, I guess Burglar Rat gets a 1/1 behind after you discard, but like, let's be honest here, that's not gonna make him like, you know, flip out. So
I think the discard plan, I found it to be high variance, because I was actually played a very similar deck, a long time ago now, before Yarion was printed, and I thought it was sweet, and it can be very effective against decks like Teamer Rec if you just make them discard like 3 or 4 turns in a row. It's hard for them to set up their game plan. On the other hand, it's also super frustrating because you can make a deck discard their entire hand, and then they top deck like a single Hydroid Crosses, and it just like undoes 10 cards that you played, and your opponent has a full full hand again, and they have like an 8/8 flyer, and you're just like, oh my god, like I did all this for absolutely nothing. One card undid like all of that work. So
yeah,
welcome to my entire life.
Like, yeah, like that's pretty much what I mean though, right? Like it's like there's so many things in like Simic based decks, like blue green X, where one draw, literally they top deck, they play like 3 fairy, they draw into like Tameo or something like that, and then the engine just goes online again, right? Or yeah, like they have so many cards that just set off this chain reaction of value, and it's hard to keep up with it.
It was also interesting to see blue-white kind of creep up. Did you notice that, Krim? That seemed like a Krim style of deck, just straight up like blue-white draw go. I know Yab Nassif ended up top 4 in one of the tournaments, and actually Thomas White lost in the finals in one of the tournaments playing just straight up blue-white control. Do you think that's a fun choice, or is that a actual like competitive answer to Team Erect these days?
I think it is a competitive deck. It can compete. I mean, like, I don't know. Something about blue-white, when I play it, it just feels like it still feels very far behind a growth spiral. Like, you know what I mean? You're fairly just doing things. And like, in standard right now, either like, you're doing something Simic based, or like you're stomping with like mono green. I think mono green is one of the cooler decks that I have seen recently get a huge uptick in popularity, and I think it's actually pretty sweet, especially with Core 2021 coming out. So I don't know, blue white, for if you ask me, I think it's okay. It's okay. I would rather, if I'm gonna play that though, if I played a control deck, I'm probably gonna play my pet Grixis Lurrus control deck, which has been treating me very well. So
well, we'll have new cards and a new shakeup, hopefully. Fingers crossed for a shakeup. Starting soon. This week is the launch of Arena in digital, and then next week, so new standard stuff coming up soon. But we should probably answer a few fish mail. So, Richard, take it away. Fish mail us, please.
All right, if you have questions, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air. Noah Boy 99, what was your favorite era of Magic? What deck did you play during that time?
That is a tough question to answer. Because for me, I would either say it's Azorius Control from RTR, Dimir Control with World Wake when you had Jace the Mind Sculptor and like Abyssal Persecutor and whatnot, or Cobblade.
Jeez. I mean, favorite era that's a lot tougher. I think favorite deck, there was that brief moment for like a month where Panharmonicon was like a legitimate GP deck, back in Kaladesh Standard. Kaladesh Standard itself, I'm not gonna say that was my favorite format, but I think that was probably my favorite standard deck. Until they banned Reflector Mage for not Panharmonicon sins for sure. And then the whole idea went away. But there was a brief window. As far as like favorite format though, I really enjoyed like Khan's era standard, and just like Siege Rhinos. Maybe it's hindsight bias, but I enjoyed resolving Siege Rhinos and seeing the crazy 4-mana plays we have today. I kind of yearn for a simpler day when you just like cast a 4/5 and Lightning Helix to your opponent.
As weird as it sounds, I kind of agree with that too, right? Like I'm just like, Siege Rhino, the card's ridiculous. For 4 mana, why are you doing that? And now I'm just like, I guess I'm dead. Like actually dead from 20 to 0 if they have 4 mana. So yeah.
We should have like a design contest. If Siege Rhino was printed today, what would it look like? Probably has like haste, hexproof, makes like a 4/5 token that also Lightning Helixes.
Yes, 6 damage. And then 2 hasting 4/5 trample rhinos.
Yeah, and you untap all the lands
still unplayable.
to cast it.
Unplayable.
Yeah, it's just baby Zakama.
My favorite era of Magic, I don't. It's got to be like pre-power creep when we used to say there's no way they would ban this since the last banning was Jace the Mind Sculptor. So going all the way back then, maybe M13 Thragtusk. I like Disciple Bolus Thragtusk. That was like the most unfair thing I could muster up, and it felt so good.
with unburial
Yeah, like I
rights and all
draw
that
5
too.
cards and get a 3/3. Okay, right. That's it. You can't beat me now.
Yeah, like that's like, I mean, we had really good formats though, all the way up to War of the Spark. Standard was really fun. I remember like how much praise we had for the power creep. So I mean, I think Standard was good for a long time. So there's been a really solid batch of formats up until War of the Spark. I mean, minus the Mardu vehicles thing.
And energy.
Oh yeah, and energy. Energy was just boring. I didn't think it was too powerful. It was just like, oh my gosh, this is seriously so boring. Like I could not stand it. And Ixalan.
So we had like a few months of good formats.
I guess
I think we
so.
just
Yeah.
crossed off. We just accidentally crossed off like most of the formats in between that
It
time.
was
period.
erased from Krim's memory.
Yeah, I guess I do not remember that part because I also didn't like play much Standard at that point. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go play Modern. I don't want to deal with Mardu vehicles.
All right. Last question. Awfully fun games. I hear the desire for changing hybrid mana rules in EDH, but it's almost like I should then be allowed to play Ishkana in my mono green deck, or dual color Aftermath cards in monocolor decks, or double faced cards. Slippery slope to me. Thoughts?
So I would like to see the hybrid rule changed, but applied narrowly. I don't think it needs to be a slippery slope. I think Kitchen Finks you should be able to play in mono white or mono green. So I think like applied very narrowly to specifically hybrid cards, and specifically hybrid casting cost cards, not just like, oh, it's got a mana symbol somewhere like extort and all that weirdness. But I think applied narrowly, I don't think it's a slippery slope, and I think it improves Commander. But I do understand what you're saying. Like, you can make the argument, oh, like, then why does color identity matter at all? I don't see it that way, but I can see where the question is coming from.
Yeah, I'm with Seth there. I think that you should definitely be able to play Kitchen Finks and whatnot, or like Shadow of Doubt in mono blue or mono black or whatever, right? Like, yeah, that seems all fine to me. I don't think that cards like, you know, like let's just say Tassiger for this case, you know what I mean? Like, I think that should be like that's okay as a Sultai card. I think that's cool. But yeah, when it's multicolored and the casting costs, just play in whatever. I don't really care. I do think Planeswalkers, like also like giving mono blue like access to something like the 3 mana Ashiok or something like that, or mono black. I think that's really sweet. So
I disagree with you guys, but I don't really care. I don't know, right? Like, I mean, the rules are the rules. Just play with them. Like, is it the end of the world that you can't play Kitchen Finks in your mono white deck? There's like a million other cards. Just play them.
But we change.
So I don't know.
We change the rules all the time, Richard, to try to make the game better. Like, we've constantly had rule changes. Why can this rule not be changed?
That is true, but I don't really care. I don't think it makes a big difference. I don't know why people are so passionate about it. Is there like some deck that's like being held back because of this? I don't know. But I'm fine with the way they are. There's justification, right? Like, it's not like it's completely unwarranted. I can see both sides of the argument. And since this one is the existing one, I guess we keep it. I don't know.
I want to be able to play Nightville Spectre in Spectre Tribal. And Spectre Tribal's always got black commanders. I think it's a travesty.
I mean, play Grixis Specters.
Yeah, I go Grixis.
You're missing out on a lot of Specters there.
It's like, what can I play Feldegrif in like my 2-color deck and just not ever activate the third ability?
How would you ever cast it?
Bad example. Moving on.
All right, yeah. I think that brings us to the end of our fish mail today. Richard, if people got fish mail questions for next week, where should they send them?
All right, send them to @MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to your questions on air.
And on that note, I believe that brings us to the end of episode 281 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So, Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Spikes Academy for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about whatever goes down in the world of Magic. So, until then, have a great week. And this is the crew signing out.